Recently, I've received a slew of requests asking me if I could react to a video on TikTok called "This is not how to approach girls at the gym." And credit to the person that put it out. I think her name on TikTok is Jessica. It looks like a short video, so I'm not sure how much commentary you want from me, but I will try my best to give a comprehensive analysis of what I see.
Is how to not approach girls at the gym.
I hate this. I hate when they're sweeties. It makes me so uncomfortable.
This is how to not approach girls at the gym.
I hate this. I hate when they're sweeties. It makes me so uncomfortable. Feral, like fucking feral.
What's she talking about? I'm not sure what the context is. She's zooming in on this guy who's working out behind her. He looks into the camera.
Feral, like fucking feral. Swatch. The 5 adds 5 pounds.
Hold on. This is what women mean by staring at them like a piece of meat. Okay, let me keep watching.
5 pounds. And these are the weights.
Stair count 5. He goes to grab cleansing wipe. So far, I don't see any staring going on. This looks like a relatively small and empty space, and these two individuals seem to be working out near each other. So if you're like me and you try to be aware of the things that are happening around you, you might glance in different directions or even the same direction if something looks out of place or abnormal. And bringing a camera to the gym to record yourself lifting whilst mumbling into a microphone does strike me as abnormal. And another thing I find interesting is that she seems to be monitoring every move and mannerism he makes. So an example is her tallying up the times that he supposedly stared at her. He might have, this video might be longer. I just have the video that she posted, but she seems to be keeping track of his every move. She says stitch incoming. I don't know what that means. She keeps saying feral. Why is he walking over?
Feral.
Then she proceeds to answer her own question by saying he goes to grab cleansing wipe. I hesitate to grab my weight because him standing directly in front of me made me extremely uncomfortable. I can't see what's happening outside of the camera, so it's hard for me to say whether he is or isn't standing in front of her. But if the cleansing wipes are on that side of the gym, then it would make sense as to why he's positioned there.
Excuse me? You don't have to do that. It's okay. No, it's okay. I got it. Thank you, though. Excuse me? You don't have to do that. It's okay. No, it's okay. I got it. Thank you, though.
Okay, this is interesting. Despite her assumptions, the guy appears to come up, grab the cleaning wipes, and on the way back, tries to help her re-rack her weights, which it seemed like she was struggling to take off. Now let's see what she says. What if I just ripped his pee-pee out of its socket so he could never reproduce again? This is why I don't want kids. Natural selection better take the weirdos out. He's going to jail for staring at an underage 21-year-old. Wow, she might have some serious psychological issues. Aside from that, in what country is 21 considered underage? I don't know if she's late to the party, but she's been an adult for the last 4 years. Depending on how this video ends, I get the feeling I'm gonna have a lot to say about this encounter.
See what I mean?
Yeah, this is so triggering for me because I've encountered women like this before. And the best thing to do is to avoid them completely. Completely.
See what I mean? All right, here we go.
No, I don't see what you mean. Okay, I'm gonna try to give the most objective recap I possibly can, just to make sure I'm getting this right. This is a video recorded by a young woman at the gym complaining about a man and even had the nerve to ask if she needed help racking her weights. While she is recording herself and him, she then proceeds to call him a weirdo, feral, and a piece of shit, if I remember correctly. And this is all before he even approaches her. Once he approaches her, she continues to make derogatory comments, implying that he's a even though she is in her early 20s. Then she fantasizes about ripping his organs out because he approached her asking if she needed any help. Right, so now that we got the objective part out of the way, here is the subjective analysis. Baby girl, you came to the gym wearing half a shirt and brought a whole ass recording studio with you. Then you started filming yourself struggling to rack your weights while mumbling awkwardly into a microphone in between sets. I can't speak for this guy, but if I were in his position, I would feel confused and slightly concerned. Yes, gym harassment does take place, and it should stop immediately. If you see it happening, you should either intervene or report it to a staff member. Yes, there are a lot of creepy guys out there who have no common decency and refuse to respect women's boundaries. And before the red pillars start coming for me, let me tell you something. I've seen it. I've seen guys step out of line. I've seen guys violate a woman's space. It happens at clubs, at parties, at gyms, at universities, at concerts. It even happens sometimes at the store. A glance is one thing, but you should know better than to stare at people in public. It's weird, it's rude, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. And if you do that to a woman I'm with and she sees you doing that, I'm going to address you so as to remind you that A, she's not alone, and B, there is a penalty for making someone around me feel uncomfortable. And maybe it's because of how I was raised, maybe it's because I'm Puerto Rican, and look, I hate stereotypes just as much as the next person. But if you know, you know. Puerto Ricans are notorious for being overprotective of the women in our lives. It's in our blood. You can say anything you want about Puerto Ricans, but if we catch you disrespecting a woman in our presence, you're going to get checked on that shit no matter who you are, right? Be mindful about the people you disrespect and who you disrespect them around. Because even the softest among us, and there aren't many, but even the softest among us will confront you, right? It's one of the reasons why when you watch these little viral videos of men putting their hands on women in public, you rarely see that shit happen to Latinas or Puerto Rican women in particular. With that being said, the woman in the video, based on my observations, did not experience any of that. I would like to know what y'all think, but to me, it looked like she misperceived a kind gesture as an attempt to hit on her. Incidences like these open the door to a conversation that many of us are afraid to have. Why? Because it highlights how so many guys in our generation are shook when it comes to interacting with women. And for good reason. As guys, we all know someone who has been falsely accused of doing something they didn't do to a woman. And maybe you're the one who was falsely accused. The prevalence of false accusations in our society is a serious problem because nothing feels worse than being lied on. Even though I consider myself to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, I am extremely cautious and conservative with how I interact with women I don't know very well. I think the times we live in call for that disposition, right? It is always better to be safe than sorry. What does that mean? That means at work, my office door is always open whenever I'm speaking to a female. When I'm meeting a girl I'm interested in romantically for the first time, we always meet somewhere public where there are witnesses who could account for what's going on. And every interaction I have with a woman is always documented. Before I have sex, I don't just need a woman to consent in person, but over text. Now, there are ways to go about that without making the girl you're talking to think you are part of the FBI, right? Because we don't want that to happen. But you get the point. I've seen too many instances where a guy is automatically accused of harassment or stalking for being kind to the wrong woman. Keyword, wrong. Because there are a lot of girls out there you can be kind to and they won't read into it or misperceive your intentions. But there are a subset of women, like the girl in this video, you have to be neutral with her. You have to be neutral. Neutral. Don't be mean, don't be nice. Neutral. because being mean to her will get you into trouble, and being nice to her will get you into trouble. So the best thing to do with women like that, avoid them completely. Don't even look in their direction. I also know that there are men out there who do use acts of kindness to get sexual favors from women without them knowing that's what their intent is. So I got to be honest about that. Those guys are out there too. But let me I got to do more research on this girl before I keep going, because I don't want to make too many assumptions. Okay, I'll probably stop this recording, come back in 20 minutes and continue. I did a little digging, and here is the kicker. The person who recorded this video, Jessica, on TikTok, on her Twitter, she admits to being deeply antisocial and, drumroll, having an OnlyFans that shows her getting penetrated. For me, that puts things into perspective. You know, the sad thing about this is this same girl will likely end up complaining one day about not being able to meet a good man in real life. I find that sad. But maybe if she does some introspection, she will be in a better position to find that man, assuming that's what she's looking for. But something tells me, even if that guy does come along, he would be gone in an instant because of her attitude. Look, being a woman or being attractive doesn't make the world revolve around you. Figure your shit out before the wrinkles start kicking in, because they will. None of us stay young forever, which is why you have to grow and you have to learn from your mistakes, because you won't always be able to count on your looks and your youth to get you out of the trouble you've caused. Nothing pisses me off more than attractive people who use their attractiveness as leverage to place themselves over others as superior or special. Like, how can you be so proud of your appearance when your attitude is fucking atrocious? I mean, with that attitude, she'll still be able to court guys who are willing to have sex with her, right? Because most guys don't have standards when it comes to sex. And maybe you'll be able to find relationships with guys who have low self-esteem, because these are typically the only guys who are willing to put up with attractive women who have awful personalities. But even they will grow tired of you. Listen, I have a lot of sympathy for people who are uncomfortable with being sexualized in public, especially attractive people who have had traumatic sexual experiences. I have a lot of sympathy for them, but that is no excuse to go around making false accusations that paint you as the victim and someone else as the villain. I think that type of behavior is gross. I think it's dishonest. Once you're exposed for engaging in that type of behavior, people will start to see you as an immature child with unresolved trauma that you are projecting onto the rest of the world. Not just that, but if you're the type of person who goes around making false accusations, once people find out that's the type of person you are, your social life is over. It's contaminated. You've poisoned the possibility of cultivating deep and meaningful connections with others, because no one will ever trust someone like you. So my advice to people who weaponize their attraction in order to make false accusations is this. Go get therapy. Stop constructing fairy tales to garner sympathy on social media at the expense of someone who is innocent. Because self-victimization is not cute. It's a sign of disordered thinking. It's a sign of spite. It's a sign of dishonesty. And last thing, people who exhibit this type of behavior are usually predators in disguise. And we don't usually think of attractive people as predators, but they can be predators too. Now, let me circle back to something else, which is women who secretly crave what they call unwanted attention. These are women you have to be very careful around. It's not all of them. It's not even most of them, but they do exist and they should be avoided at all costs. Why? Because giving these types of women attention is like playing with fire. They are hazardous to your health. And I'm sure in the opposite direction, there are guys who also fit this mold and are toxic as hell. We've all met them. Maybe that person is you. Hopefully it's not. Lord knows I've made some mistakes in my past, but anyone can weaponize their attractiveness to feed their victim complex, to feed their narcissism, to unfairly frame someone as creepy, which is a special kind of insult when you know you're not creepy. And as guys, we have to go out of our way to show women that we're not creepy, which can be exhausting, right? And part of that is because there are a lot of creepy guys out there, and women do have these encounters. But yeah, I really want to drive this point home that most women are not this way. So I don't want you using my commentary as a green light to go around demonizing women, because that's unfair. But while I'm going on about this particular behavior that does seem more prevalent among women, I think it opens the door to another conversation, which begs the question as to why someone would do something like this, right? Going to the gym, being dramatic, making a scene, falsely portraying someone as an evil villain. We have to ask why. Otherwise, there's not much to learn, right? And the name of this channel is Teacher Reacts. So I would be remiss if I didn't try to teach you something. And that something is going to be called empathy. Something that I even struggle with, right? And I know it can be difficult to empathize with a girl like this. I understand that. But I will say that it's important to understand you can empathize with someone while still acknowledging how their behavior reflects who they are on the inside. It's kind of like the old saying, you can trust a snake to be a snake, meaning, what do snakes do? If you get too close, they'll bite you or they'll strangle you. You can trust a snake, but don't for a second misperceive them as something they're not. So let's talk about it. I can't believe I'm getting ready to psychoanalyze what goes through the mind of attractive people. But as an attractive person myself, I think it's worth a shot. People society deems attractive often carry heavy emotional baggage and endless insecurity. Sometimes these things manifest in toxic ways, such as the video this young lady posted. And the shit that attractive people have to put up with isn't talked about as much as it should be, right? And why would it be? What good does it do to feel bad about someone for being attractive? Right? It seems kind of like an oxymoron. If anything, you want to feel bad for people society traditionally sees as unattractive. It only makes sense. That line of thinking is part of the problem. People assume that if you are attractive, you get to play life on easy mode. I mean, depending on the circumstance, maybe, but that's often not the case. Being attractive comes with its own standards, expectations, and external pressures that can be fucking exhausting. And this is something that's forced on attractive people at a very young age. Everyone wants a piece of you, even adults. And let me tell you something, living in a world where everyone wants a piece of you might sound good, but in all reality, it makes society that much harder to navigate. And these bad experiences can make you second guess every social interaction you have with someone. Imagine that. Imagine if in every conversation you have with someone, in the back of your head, you are forced to wonder, is this person talking to me because they enjoy my company, or do they just want to fuck me? Is it both? Are my colleagues dismissing what I have to say because they think I'm just a pretty face and nothing more? On the other side of the spectrum, are my colleagues supporting what I have to say because I'm actually putting forth good ideas that add value? Or is it just because I'm hot and they like to see my lips move, right? There are a lot of things to keep track of and think about when you're attractive. Because of this, attractive people can sometimes have a warped sense of reality. Not because there's anything wrong with them, but because there's something wrong with how society treats them. With that being said, I know there will probably be many critiques on this video. you know, on both sides of the aisle. One side will say, Manny, you're calling women evil and self-centered. And the other side will say, you're sympathizing with women who go out of their way to portray men as evil monsters. Listen, if that's your takeaway from my commentary, that's fine. You can have your perspective. If you took something more away from this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. See y'all next time. Peace.